Welcome to the second part of our How to Prepare for Surveys videos. Now that you have picked out and signed up for your survey area, you can begin planning your survey more in depth. Contact your CDFW Region Coordinator for assistance with private property access for your survey. This list of coordinators can also be found as a PDF on the project webpage. Which survey method you use will guide how you go about planning your survey, as it will dictate what kind of equipment you need, more on this later, and whether you need a survey partner. Ideally, everyone should have a partner in the field for safety reasons, as long as physical distancing and other COVID-19 protection protocols can be maintained. Anyone actually surveying from the water or in remote areas, however, will need to have a partner with them. Time needed to complete surveys will depend on multiple factors, the most influential of which are how long and how easy to access the survey reach is. Sometimes kayaking websites will include time estimates, but you may need to do some additional research and plan for extra time just in case. I do also want to point out that if you are kayaking or boating a reach, especially one that might get too low to easily float in drier years, you will want to keep track of flows as your survey date approaches. Sources such as the USGS's Water Data website can help with this. If you have looked over the project resources, you already know that bank swallows burrow into fairly vertical, eroding cut banks that are generally free from vegetation. This ability to identify suitable habitat for bank swallows is integral to field surveys, but it can also be helpful while planning surveys. While you are reviewing aerial imagery for any survey method, keep an eye out for suitable bank swallow habitat nearby. If it is safe and legal to do so, you can survey these additional areas with habitat as well. Identifying bank swallow habitat from aerial imagery can also be helpful in certain additional situations. Normally, we really want to try and survey as much of a reach as possible, although in some cases, logistics due to private property prevent easy access. In these circumstances, usually surveys that must be done on foot or by vehicle, we can use habitat to narrow down our area of focus. Make sure to coordinate with your bank swallow region coordinator for assistance with access in these situations. Identifying habitat can be difficult when reviewing aerial imagery, especially for smaller, slow-moving streams and areas with less active erosion or areas that have a lot of overhanging vegetation on the banks. If this step is needed, use Google Earth to look for areas along your reach where you can see a clean, dark outline indicating a cut in the bank. Like I mentioned, using aerial imagery to find cut banks is not all that reliable. For example, the imagery can be multiple years old, the lighting or quality of the imagery may be poor, and there may be too much vegetation blocking views of the banks. It's also just plain hard to see a three-dimensional structure from a two-dimensional picture. Therefore, if you do identify what looks to be a cut bank, make sure to survey as much of the surrounding area as possible in person, even if you can't see any other banks. Remember to only limit your survey area using this strategy when easy access is otherwise prevented, and remember to contact your bank swallow regional coordinator for help. Before we end, I want to talk briefly about some aspects to consider for each survey method. For kayaking, you of course need kayaks, in addition to a survey partner and easy access to the water for launching and for taking out. For smaller streams or lakes or areas controlled by dams, you will also need to make sure flows are high enough to kayak before heading out, and you will need to be alert to hazards while in the water. Kayaking also often requires shuttling between start and end locations, so make sure to observe all COVID-19 safety protocols. Boating surveys require the use of a boat and trailer and a vehicle to tow it, as well as a trained boat operator. You will also need places to launch and take out, which can be tricky in areas with few established boat ramps, and may also need to set up a shuttle between start and end locations. You will also need to limit participation to 2 people per boat, and to make sure to follow all COVID-19 safety guidelines. There are additional safety considerations to take into account while on the water for both of these methods, so make sure to watch the Safety in the Field video for more information. Vehicle surveys are more straightforward, although there may be problems with roads not occurring close enough to adequately observe a reach, or, if they do, requiring high-clearance vehicles and four-wheel drive. Surveys done on foot require no additional equipment, but are generally only done in areas that cannot be surveyed using the previous methods. Public access may be limited in areas requiring on-foot surveys, so make sure to check in with your region coordinator for help. Even in areas where private property access is an issue, you can still try to survey whatever portions of your reach are visible from the closest public access point, such as a bridge, road, overlook, etc., and then complete the rest of your survey from aerial imagery review. We also highly encourage recruiting a survey partner for both vehicle and on-foot surveys, provided COVID-19 distancing safety protocols are followed. For vehicles, this would likely mean each surveyor would need a separate vehicle. That's all we have for our How to Prepare for Surveys videos. Please remember to review all of the protocols and supplementary materials on the website if you have not done so already, and watch the next section on conducting surveys for a field orientation.